You're watching News 4 at 5 on your side in high definition.
What about those, all of those guns that was pointing at the people? Or are there somebody going to be arrested there?
A federal investigation is underway tonight after the events that took place on Cliven Bundy's ranch. Hear what the rancher himself has to say about it. Plus, Michael Sam was drafted during today's NFL draft, becoming the first openly gay player on a pro football team. Find out where the player is headed. News 4 at 5 starts right now.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Dylan Kendrick. We'll get to those stories in just a minute, but first, police say a house party in Sparks got out of control overnight when a man pointed a gun at the crowd. The same suspect allegedly returned later and ransacked the home. Officers say this all happened in the 1500th block of G Street. Police weren't called to the scene until about 2:30 in the morning, and witnesses say a teenager, possibly a Pacific Islander or a black male, pointed a handgun at the crowd, and that's when an unidentified victim tried to break up the party and was pistol whipped. The victim was treated for non-life-threatening injuries to his head, and according to officers, once the party dispersed, witnesses say the same suspect with a gun returned to the home, kicked in the door, and ransacked it. Well, it's been almost 6 months since the Sparks Middle School shooting, and on Tuesday, Sparks police will release new findings from that tragic day. A press conference will be held at 1:30 on Tuesday to discuss the ins and outs of the investigation. News 4 will, of course, be covering this and bring you the very latest findings. Well, today is Mother's Day, and the Summit Mall is giving you a chance to get outside and enjoy it with Mom. Wow Mom, a farmers market event, is taking place today. Not only can you shop, but there are fun activities for Mom and the whole family to take advantage of, including market vendors, pampering stations, and live music, and much more. Children of all ages can participate in craft projects while moms indulge.
It's difficult to really express to Mom all that she really means to us, and I think one way to do that is just to have fun with her. Come out to an event, spend some time. I think quality time with your mom, whether it's going out shopping, going to brunch on Mother's Day or something like that, is beneficial.
Now, if you're 21 or over, shoppers can also stroll around the summit during the Mother's Day Wine Walk. Proceeds from the Wine Walk will benefit local charities. One New York mother is enjoying her Mother's Day with a gift no amount of money could buy. She celebrates a new kidney that saved her 3-year-old daughter's life. Stacey Bell has the story.
Right about there, huh?
These days, Anaya is a typical 3-year-old, a little sweet, a little sassy, and a whole lot of cuteness.
Did you paint your fingers? Yeah, a little bit. I can tell maybe a little bit.
But that's not how her life began. Before she was a year old, doctors diagnosed her with a rare kidney disease, congenital Finnish nephrotic syndrome. Prolonged blood infusions were keeping her alive.
The clock was really ticking, and we had to come up with a solution that would involve essentially replacing her kidney function with either a transplant or with dialysis.
Dr. Jeffrey Solon, chief of nephrology and hypertension at Mount Sinai, was responsible for her treatment.
Typically, the kidneys have to be removed to prevent this massive swelling, or the alternative are these long-term infusions.
Doctors say the symptoms can include swelling in the eyes and the feet, but for Ayana, it was something that can only be described as a mother's instinct that tipped her off to the fact that her child wasn't well.
It was a piercing cry. I almost feel like I can hear it now.
And those cries still haunt her today.
I wrapped her in a blanket. It was cold. I ran on feet to Harlem Hospital. Her head was swollen up as big as a basketball.
So Ayana did what moms do. She volunteered one of her kidneys. Life was good for a few hours. Then her baby developed blood clots that sent her back to the transplant list. Luckily, they found a matching donor within months.
This was a deceased donor. When you think about it, this is a family that lost someone and chose to save someone. And I was grateful that it was my child.
So this Mother's Day, this family will celebrate the gift of life and the village of doctors, surgeons, and kind strangers who've helped make their family happy and healthy again.
Well, it's a first for the National Football League. Defensive end Michael Sam was drafted in the 7th round of the NFL draft today, making for the first openly gay player in the league. Sam played at Missouri and came out as gay in media interviews earlier this year. The 6'2", 255-pounder was projected to go anywhere from mid to late rounds. Last season, Sam earned the SEC Defensive Player of the Year with 48 tackles, along with 11.5 sacks. Well, there's a new twist in the Clive and Bundy Ranch standoff. The FBI and the rancher himself are in disagreements over accusations that guns were pointed at BLM agents. Antonio Castellan reports.
If you can come up with one person out of all of those videos pointing a gun at the BLM people that was pointing guns, I'll identify that person if I can.
Clive and Bundy is firing back on an FBI investigation looking into people who may have pointed guns at law enforcement. Sheriff Doug Gillespie confirms the FBI is looking into a tense confrontation that happened on April 12th between armed militia and BLM agents along with Metro police officers. Sheriff Gillespie is quoted saying, "Someone needs to be held accountable."
I believe that he's right. Don't you think somebody needs to be held accountable?
But who's that? Who's going to be held accountable?
I'll tell you, I'd think that the sheriff ought to be held accountable, and maybe the governor of the state of Nevada.
Assistant Metro Sheriff Joe Lombardo appeared on What's Your Point Thursday, speaking about the atmosphere on that tense day.
It was scary. We had a large number of individuals armed to the teeth. That's the best way to describe it.
Bundy says law enforcement pointed guns at the innocent.
So if there's anybody going to be arrested, it's sure not going to be one of these. I'm wondering, what about those, all of those guns that was pointing at the people? Or are there somebody going to be arrested there?
Sheriff Gillespie goes on to say the FBI is looking over all videos and pictures showing armed Bundy supporters targeting officers. There is a possibility people will be arrested. Bundy does not see that happening.
No, I don't think so. I don't think they got guts enough to come out here and bother these people. They were doing the best they could do with the right spirit.
The investigation is still ongoing, and we will be sure to continue to follow this story and bring you the very latest. The death toll in the South Korean ferry disaster has risen to 275. 29 people are still listed as missing. The passenger ferry sank off the coast of South Korea on April 16th. Most of the dead and missing are students, all from the same high school, who were taking the ferry to a resort island for a field trip. Thursday, the chief executive of the company that operated the ferry was arrested and charged with causing death by negligence. The South Korean government is also taking steps to revoke the company's business licenses. Well, 4 people miraculously survived a plane crash in southeastern Australia this afternoon. An amateur cameraman in Australia's Blue Mountains captured this video of a light plane falling to the ground. According to Australian media, the plane lost power and the pilot had to deploy the plane's parachute at about 4,000 feet. The plane ended up drifting down to the ground and landed in the front yard of a home. All 4 people on board escaped without injuries. Authorities are launching an investigation into the incident. Well, the sun came out today for Mother's Day, and it's really not showing any signs of going away anytime soon. Let's get a look outside. A beautiful clear night across the Truckee Meadows, a few high-level clouds, but really not a bad evening out there at all. Let's get a look at your first forecast. Currently in Reno right now, 57 degrees, humidity at 16%. Current temperatures across the region, 51 up in Elko, a little cooler in Winnemucca at 47, but a lot warmer down south, with Las Vegas coming in at 72 degrees. Highs today across the region, 61 in Elko, 55 in Eureka. Then we made mid-70s in Las Vegas, and again we got up to 64 degrees here in Reno. So satellite radar shows that area of low pressure really pushed off to the east. That's what gave us those rain showers, even some snow showers here on the valley floor, but it really did clear up to a beautiful Mother's Day Sunday for us here in Reno. Across the country yesterday, footage of a tornado that ripped through a northwestern Missouri town. The heavy storms came with high winds causing severe damage to homes and knocking down trees. Power lines were also toppled, but no injuries have been reported. And the National Weather Service is saying that it is possible that a second tornado may have touched down about 50 miles to the east. We're also learning tonight that Orick, Missouri is the name of the community that took the direct hit, which is located about 30 miles east of downtown Kansas City. Well, coming up next on News 4 at 5, protesters gathered around the world in an effort to call for the release of 300 Nigerian girls. And now First Lady Michelle Obama is taking a stand. Plus, these surprise homecomings never get old. Who was behind that pitcher's mask and how this young girl reacted when we return.